In the meantime, the National Youth Service Corps, NYSC, has refuted claims circulating on social media about upgrading corps members' bank accounts to accommodate a new minimum wage of 70,000 naira. A statement released by Adeniyi, the NYSC Director of Information and Public Relations, clarified that no official directive has been issued to implement the 70,000 naira minimum wage or to modify corps members' bank accounts. The NYSC has urged corps members to be cautious and not be misled by false information being spread by mischief makers. NYSC admonishes corps members to desist from allowing mischief makers to mislead them. Professor Abiodun Adeniyi is here to look at some of the issues with us. Professor Adeniyi, thank you for coming to Newsnight.
Thank you, my pleasure.
Let's do it the way they eat an elephant, bit by bit. So let's start with SERAP's admonition to the federal government to probe the loans to the state government. How can we ensure that the federal executive is able to look into the fiscal behavior of state executives?
Federal executive being able to look at the fiscal behavior of state executives, well, it's not impossible, you know, if all the agencies, the federal apparatuses available are deployed, you know, to ensure transparency and accountability in the public expenditure process, you know, and of course, SERAP's call is legitimate, you know, they've been consistent in calling for credibility and calling for accountability in the public expenditure process, you know, but oftentimes we tend to bother about the acts, you know, when the crime, you know, or when the offense has been committed. And that has been the bane of our fight against corruption in this country. I would rather that we are much more concerned about preventive mechanisms. And in modern times, in the 21st century world of technology, there are so many devices that nations are adopting, you know, to enhance preventive measures, you know, because the human being has this predilection to be tempted, you know, when there are no control systems, a control system to prevent him or her, you know, from dipping his or her hand into the cookie jar. Our own system is still largely accusatory, and we're still concerned about apprehension, prosecution, and sanctioning in a situation where there are lots of deficiency in that area. I would rather that we are much more concerned about prevention. And I'm aware that EFCC is also trying to redirect its energy towards this preventive framework. But I also believe they cannot do it alone. It might need a larger, overarching government policy, you know, where mechanisms will be deployed at the level of technology, at the level of applying extant laws like the Public Procurement Act, which has inbuilt measures, you know, that tend to, it might be procedural, there might be allegations that it can delay, yes, but what's wrong with you delaying the process of using funds and ensuring transparency and accountability, than not delaying it, hurrying the process, and of course, having the funds wasted. But in any case, nobody is accusing the governors just yet. You know, SERAP is simply saying that it should be probed. But asking that it should be probed simply means that something is likely to have gone wrong. And we want to believe that nothing has gone wrong. But if anything has gone wrong, of course, we need appropriate measures to be taken, you know, to sanction those who will probably be found guilty. But in the longer run, I'm arguing that we should be concerned about prevention, because prevention will save us a whole lot of efforts that we could probably deploy into other areas, you know, because the process of apprehension, prosecution, and sanctioning can be very cumbersome, expensive, time-wasting, and sometimes might lead to nowhere.
Okay, then, talking about preventive measures, shouldn't the citizens themselves in these states be able to call their governors, hold them accountable and call them to order?
Yeah, I'm not sure the Nigerian citizens can do any more than they are probably presently doing. A protest just ended, and when presidents become courageous enough to embark on those protests, they're just asking government to be much more responsible. Do not forget, people wielding state power can be smarter. They've got the power of coercion, and they can manipulate it the way they want. So we also expect that the leaders will be very, very responsible. That's why they were elected in the first instance. So we need not push the buck or the blame onto the citizens, because citizens are already exasperated on account of misgovernance over the years. Yes, we know that they still have their responsibility, but civil society organizations like SERAP, and many others are actually acting on behalf of the citizens. So if SERAP is coming into the fray and acting and doing what they are doing, and of course it's also the citizens speaking through some conscientious, visionary civil society organization.
Okay, then the $1.5 billion World Bank loan that SERAP is asking the federal government to probe the state governments for is even still preemptive. SERAP is saying that if any infractions are found, whoever is found culpable should be made to face the full wrath of the law. In any case, also the Chinese loan as well, that's also pending. So then, how then do we ensure that when these loans are given, the proper key performance indicators are followed, and then the loans are appropriately disbursed such that the monies get to the poorest of the poor?
Yeah, Tolu, the fact that we are concerned that those kind of loans are actually being misappropriated or misapplied tells us how deep-seated corruption is, and how smart, those who are often in the act can actually be, because those loans are not loans that are easy to access. And sometimes you go through a lot of processes. We're talking about World Bank loan, we're talking about Chinese loan. You go through a lot of presentation, you make a lot of defenses, and of course sometimes you don't even get a whole lot at once. You get the loans in tranches, after milestones. But even then, people still find ways of circumventing the process to divert the funds. Unfortunately, that's if the allegation is actually true. But what more can we say about ensuring that these funds are not diverted? Before we start asking the security agencies responsible for this kind of business to get down to work, what about the citizens, themselves? What about those that we are accusing? What's wrong with us having a reorientation, some kind of understanding of our role as leaders, where we find ourselves in public offices, thinking of prioritizing the interests of the populace above self-interest. And of course, to what extent do you want to go, in self-aggrandizement, when you keep thinking that public resources should be diverted for your own ends. So it just beggars belief continuously, and it's something that we keep asking questions about, but it's something that we also need to deal with, because a whole lot of public resources are actually going down the drain, being wasted. We are still seeing profligacy, like we keep saying. So beyond the instrument of the law, it's also the need for soul searching. Some level of self-reorientation, be concerned about living legacy of service, and not just thinking that you are in public office to help yourself. Okay,
let's move on to aviation. Now, the UK is asking Air Peace to start flying into Gatwick instead of Heathrow. That when you land in Heathrow, it's easier for you just take metro, to wherever you're going, But then in Gatwick, it's like they're putting you at the end of the town, Someone asking, so and then it's becoming like back and forth between the Nigerian government and the UK. Doesn't it bother you that a country like the United Kingdom, that should be Nigeria's ally, is not supportive of our aviation sector?
No, I don't think so, Tolu. But I want to give it to the aviation minister, that he probably knows what he's doing. They probably understand the aviation politics more than we do. You know, but if you ask somebody like me, as an ordinary, regular person, I wouldn't mind, you know, if I have to land in Gatwick.
Bear in mind, hang on, Prof. Bear in mind that Virgin Atlantic and British Airways fly in and out of Nigeria like as many times a day, maybe 4 times or so.
No, that's not the issue.
Lagos
the issue now
Abuja,
is,
and then
it's not the frequency now, it's about place of landing and
yes,
taking off.
I know that. And we're talking about Lagos and Abuja.
Yeah.
Lagos and Abuja,
yeah,
you know.
2 different cities, right?
Yes, yes.
But here we're talking about 2 airports.
Have you thought of,
yes,
city, I know, but then have you thought of asking British Airways or Virgin Atlantic to start landing in Kano or some other place?
No, that would be a different thing.
You know, so do you understand? It looks like that's what they're planning for air peace, you know. So how do we ensure that this does not degenerate?
Well, it's fine, Tolu, but I'm sorry, I'm going to slightly disagree with you.
Okay.
Because the examples are completely different.
Okay.
You know, Gatwick and Heathrow, you know, are also within the London vicinity.
Right.
And that's the point I was trying to make, that aviation politics might be better understood by the minister more than you and I, so we should leave that with them. But from my own regular understanding, you know, if I land in Gatwick, for instance, it may not make any difference to me, because transportation system in that country is fine. You know, you can connect anywhere from Gatwick. You know, at any time you land, you might not have difficulty even with security and all of that. But in our own situation, it's slightly different. We have maybe 1 airport in Lagos, 1 in Abuja, and 1 in Kano. 2 different cities. You do not need to take another flight from Gatwick to London city center. You know, you can use train, you can use bus. There are multiple means that you can use to access the city center. But I understand the idea that the minister is trying to pursue. You know, Heathrow is a prime airport, it's a choice airport.
And it's closer to the city center.
That's any airline that deserve respect, you know, we ordinarily want to land. But I'm still saying that it may not really matter to many people, but they might have a level at which they want to operate, considering the fact that Air Peace looks like you know, our flagship airline now, and it shouldn't be undermined. You know, this is not the first time that a foreign country is trying to do that to us. At the time, Dubai was asking Air Peace to land in Sharjah rather than landing in Dubai. You know, so all these are part of the aviation politics that we keep talking about, and there might be some deeper details, you know, that the aviation minister and his team might understand, and of course better than we do. But overall, I want to believe that it's something that they should resolve, because the United Kingdom is a traditional ally of the Nigerian state, and we do not want to get into any diplomatic role with them.
That's exactly my concern.
Yeah, we do not want to. We don't need it, you know, because their traditional ally has been there over the years. It will continue to be there. We share a lot in common. They share a lot in common with us. They have some sort of disposition towards us, whether we like it or not. And of course, Nigerians, you know, privilege that country, maybe as their second home, largely in different areas, you know, in different ways. And it might be something that I think they can come around the table and peacefully resolve, instead of a diplomatic role, you know, over aviation policies that I think is rather minor.
Okay. Let's try to wrap this up with a comment from former President Olusegun Obasanjo about Nigerian lawmakers fixing the salaries, wrongly so, and holding the executive arm of government to ransom by demanding or regularly receiving monetary packages, patronage from them. What's your reaction to this?
Well, we know who former President Obasanjo is. A very transient speaking person. He likes to steer the honest nets, and this time around, he's gotten under the skin of the senators, you know, and they have reacted appropriately. What more do we have to say? He has accused them, they have reacted, you know. It should ordinarily end there. But again, it's also probably why we shouldn't make statements we may not be able to defend. I heard your last guest said something about us making wild assumptions. Some of the things that we actually accuse some of these state officials of doing might just be assumptions. But again, maybe it's also another wake-up call for them, you know, to be much more mindful of conduct that give them away as people who are necessarily living in opulence, while the rest of us are suffering. You know, perhaps it is this perception that is conditioning some wild assumptions with which they are constantly being forced to deny. You know? But with the accusation and the denial, I think the matter will ordinarily rest there, because it's not, it's probably just a storm in a teacup.
Thank you very much indeed, Professor Adeniyi, for coming to Newsnight. We appreciate your analysis.